There are moments in life when the veil is ripped away, when the mask that people wear is torn aside, when the covering that conceals the soul can no longer hold. These moments often come suddenly, like a torn dress in the midst of an ordinary day, and in that tearing, the truth is revealed. To the average man, such moments are scandal, embarrassment, or temptation. But to the man who understands the secret power of life, they are moments of revelation, windows into the inner chambers of truth. The torn dress is not merely fabric undone, it is life itself saying, "Here is reality stripped bare. What will you do with it?" You must understand that exposure is the great revealer of character. Men and women walk through life carefully dressed in appearances, guarding their secrets, hiding their wounds, concealing their fears. They laugh when they wish to cry. They smile when their hearts are breaking. They boast of strength while trembling inside. But life, with its mysterious design, always arranges a moment when the pretense cannot hold. The covering tears. The mask slips. The carefully arranged fabric of disguise comes apart. And in that instant, the soul stands naked before the eyes of another. Now, what does this mean for you, the seeker of greatness? It means that your true strength is not measured in the comfort of ordinary days but in the critical moment when life strips away the veil and forces you to confront reality. When the dress tore, the cowboy saw more than beauty. He saw vulnerability. He saw humanity. He saw truth without its covering. And it shook him, not because he was weak, but because he had been given a test. Would he lower himself to animal desire, or would he rise to the honor of protecting what had been exposed? So too will you face such moments, not in the form of a torn dress, but in opportunities, failures, crises, and temptations that tear away the illusions of security and force you to reveal who you really are. Do not mistake this. Life will test you, and it will not announce the test in advance. The tearing comes suddenly. One day you are secure, the next day you are exposed. One day you have everything arranged, the next day it all unravels. And in that unraveling, you must show yourself. When the fabric of your plans splits, when the illusion of your strength falters, when the covering that hid your fears is torn away, will you collapse in shame, or will you rise with honor? Napoleon once said that in every battle there comes a time when both armies consider themselves beaten, and the one who continues the attack wins. In the same way, in the battle of character, there comes a moment when all coverings are gone, when you feel exposed, and only then is victory determined. For it is not the well-dressed, well-protected, carefully shielded man who proves himself. It is the man who, when stripped of excuses, stands firm. Exposure reveals truth, and truth demands response. The coward hides his face and flees. The brute seizes and destroys. But the man of destiny sees the sacredness of what has been uncovered and trembles with reverence. The trembling is not weakness, it is awareness of the gravity of choice. For in the split second of exposure, your entire destiny can be decided. Do you not see the pattern? Opportunity itself comes disguised as exposure. The world does not hand you golden chances neatly wrapped, it rips the curtain suddenly and demands that you act. When a business collapses, that is exposure. When a friend betrays you, that is exposure. When your secret ambition is laughed at, that is exposure. When your weakness is revealed before others, that is exposure. In each case, you stand naked in the eyes of the world, and the question is, will you let shame master you, or will you master the moment? The torn dress is but a symbol of all that life will tear away from you. You may lose money, you may lose reputation, you may lose friends, you may even lose the covering of pride that kept your insecurities hidden. But what will you do when that loss exposes your true self? Will you bend and break, or will you rise with the dignity of a soul that understands that greatness is not found in the coverings of appearance, but in the strength of inner truth? Think of the oak tree. Its strength is not proven when it stands cloaked in leaves under gentle sunshine. Its strength is proven when the storm rips the leaves away, when the branches are stripped bare, when nothing is left to hide its form. Then, in the naked exposure of winter, you see the true structure of its roots and branches. So too it is with you. The tearing away of life's coverings is not meant to shame you, it is meant to prove you. When the cowboy's hands trembled, he was at a crossroad that every man meets. And make no mistake, your trembling will come. It may not come in the presence of a woman's vulnerability. It may come when you stand before a failed dream, when you lose the job you thought secured your identity, when the world laughs at your failure, or when the people you trusted turn against you. At that moment, your soul will be torn open like a dress, and you will have to decide whether to collapse or to rise. Do not fear exposure. Fear only failing to act with honor when it comes. Fear only being the kind of person who uses another's weakness for your own gain. Fear only being the kind of person who hides behind coverings and never dares to stand in the naked truth of reality. For the secret of greatness lies in embracing exposure as the forge of destiny. Remember this, the universe does not reward the man who hides, it rewards the man who stands revealed and still chooses to act with dignity. The torn dress is the metaphor of all moments when life uncovers what is real. It is not scandal, it is opportunity. It is not shame, it is destiny. When everything is stripped away and your trembling hands reach for decision, remember that your true greatness will be defined in that moment. And so I say to you, welcome the tearing away of life's coverings. Welcome the moments when you are exposed, when you are revealed, when you are laid bare before the eyes of the world. For in those moments you discover whether you are merely a creature of instinct or a master of destiny. The world waits not for those who keep themselves covered, but for those who, when exposed, prove themselves worthy. When the fabric tears, when the mask falls, when the covering is lost, do not run, do not seize, do not despair. Stand tall. Tremble if you must, but tremble with reverence, not with weakness. For in that trembling you will hear the voice of destiny whispering, now is your moment. Show who you truly are. Very good. Let us now expand key point 2, character is tested in private moments. A man's true strength is measured not by what he conquers, but by how he behaves when faced with temptation. Into a long, flowing 2,000-word speech in the voice of Napoleon Hill, without headings, in one continuous motivational style. There are two kinds of battles in this world, the ones that are fought under the gaze of the crowd, and the ones that are fought in silence when no one is watching. The crowd sees the cowboy on his horse, commanding the open range, taming the wild, conquering the storm. They cheer for his victories, they admire his strength, they celebrate the image of power that he projects. But the truest test of his character, the measure of his real worth, comes not in the presence of applause, but in the silence of a private moment when temptation knocks on his door. That is where the soul of a man is laid bare. That is where the difference between greatness and weakness is revealed. The world is easily fooled by outward strength. It applauds the conqueror of lands, the man who makes money, the one who climbs mountains, the one who commands armies. But let me tell you this eternal truth, these external victories are nothing if, in the secret moments of life, the man is conquered by himself. What does it matter if a man has the wealth of empires, if in the silence of temptation he bows his head and betrays his own honor? What does it matter if he wears medals on his chest, if in the quiet darkness he has sold his soul for pleasure, for greed, for the fleeting satisfaction of the senses? Real strength is not the roar of public triumph. Real strength is the whisper of integrity kept when no eye is watching and no applause can be earned. Picture again the cowboy, hardened by years of labor, his skin marked by sun and storm. He has lifted weights greater than most men could bear. He has broken horses wild with fury. He has fought against drought, hunger, loneliness, and loss. But none of those battles compares to the one that now faces him when, in a moment of unexpected exposure, temptation is laid before him. His dress rehearsals were the storms of the prairie, the long nights of solitude, the physical pain of hardship. But the true performance, the true proving ground of his soul, is this private, delicate instant when his choice will reveal the man he really is. Will he conquer his desire, or will his desire conquer him? That is the question. The strongest chains are forged not of iron but of habit. The man who yields in private to temptation weaves chains around his own soul, and though no one sees them at first, eventually the world will. For you cannot escape yourself. You carry yourself everywhere you go. If you have been conquered in the private chambers of temptation, your public victories will crumble. You may smile in front of the world, but inside you will know the truth. And that truth will eat at you like rust eats at steel until the whole structure collapses. But listen well, the man who overcomes himself in private moments builds an invisible armor that no storm can penetrate. Each time he resists temptation, each time he stands firm in the silence, each time he chooses dignity over desire, he is forging the steel of his character. And when the world later tests him, when critics assail him, when challenges rise against him, he will not fall, because he has already won the greatest victory, mastery of himself. Do not think this mastery comes easily. Every man trembles in the moment of temptation. The trembling is the proof of battle. It is not a sign of weakness but a sign that a great choice is being demanded. The cowboy's hands shook when faced with vulnerability, not because he was weak, but because he stood at the crossroad of two destinies. One path led downward to shame, the other upward to honor. And in that trembling, the fate of his soul hung in the balance. The question is not whether temptation will come. It will come. It comes to every man, every woman, in 1,000 different forms. For some it comes as lust, for others as greed, for others as the temptation to lie, to cheat, to betray, to take the easy way instead of the hard path of truth. But know this, life will arrange the stage so that no one is watching but you. And in that sacred solitude, your choice will be recorded in the secret book of destiny. The world may never see the decision in that moment, but the effect of it will echo into everything you do. Consider the seed planted in the soil. No eye sees its struggle in the dark earth, no applause greets its slow breaking of the shell. Yet the private victory of that seed is what makes possible the towering oak that later shades the land. So too with you. Your private victories, unseen, uncelebrated, resisted in silence, are what make you strong enough to stand as a giant when the world looks to you. The man of shallow ambition will chase the crowd, eager to prove his strength through visible conquest. But the man of true vision knows that every public victory is born in the hidden hours of discipline, restraint, and choice. He does not need applause to affirm his strength. His affirmation comes from the knowledge that he has not betrayed himself in secret. That knowledge builds confidence, and confidence builds power, and power rightly used builds destiny. Remember that you live with yourself longer than you live with anyone else. You can hide from the eyes of men, but you cannot hide from the man in the mirror. Every choice you make in private etches itself into that mirror until, one day, you can no longer deceive yourself. That is why the wisest men of history have said, "Know thyself." For when you know yourself, you know the battleground of your private moments, and when you conquer yourself, no outward enemy can defeat you. The cowboy's story is not about a torn dress. It is about the torn veil of his own soul, the test of whether he would respect dignity or surrender to desire. His trembling was the tremor of a soul being weighed in the balance. And so it is with every one of us. There comes a trembling, a test, a moment when the world is silent but the universe is watching. And the universe always takes note of which way you choose. Think of the greatest men in history, and you will see that their greatness was not built only on the battlefields of nations but on the private battlefields of their own character. Washington could have become a tyrant but chose restraint. Lincoln could have given in to despair but chose perseverance. Edison could have surrendered to failure but chose persistence. These choices were made in silence, in private moments, before they were ever revealed in public. And it was those unseen victories that gave them the power to shape the world. The measure of a man is never what he conquers outside himself. It is always what he conquers inside himself. To climb a mountain is one thing, to conquer your own selfishness is far greater. To build a fortune is one thing, to resist the corruption that fortune can bring is far greater. To win the love of the crowd is one thing, to preserve your integrity when alone is far greater. There is a reason the old masters taught that the greatest kingdom a man can rule is the kingdom of himself. For every other kingdom is temporary, but the rulership of yourself is eternal. You carry it into every arena, every relationship, every endeavor. If you are master of yourself, you will be master of your fate. If you are slave to temptation, no crown, no wealth, no reputation will save you. Therefore, train yourself in private, just as the athlete trains when no one is watching. Do not wait for the great test to come before you prepare. Each small temptation resisted, each small act of integrity, is a brick laid in the fortress of your character. And when the great test comes and you will stand unshaken, because you have been preparing all along. The cowboy's trembling hands remind us that the fight is real. No man escapes it. No man can pretend he is too strong to be tempted. The fight is universal, and the trembling is universal. But the victory belongs only to those who remember that strength is not in conquest of others, but in conquest of self. So I say to you, live as if every private choice is a rehearsal for your destiny. Live as if the eyes of the universe are upon you when no one else is. Live as if the silence of your room is louder than the roar of the crowd, because in truth, it is. For in that silence, your soul is being written into the record of eternity. The day will come when the coverings are torn away, when you stand exposed before the world, and the strength or weakness you forged in private will be revealed. And on that day, you will not be able to pretend. You will be what you have chosen to be in 1,000 secret moments. If those choices were honorable, you will stand as a rock. If those choices were weak, you will crumble like dust. Therefore, decide now that your true strength will not be measured by what you conquer in the eyes of men, but by how you behave when no one is watching. Decide now that temptation, when it comes, will not master you, but will be the proving ground of your character. Decide now that your trembling hands will not be guided by desire, but by honor. For the man who conquers himself has already conquered the world. Excellent. Now we take key point 3, restraint is greater than possession. Real power comes from self-control and respect, not from dominance or taking advantage and expand it into a long, flowing 2,000-word speech in Napoleon Hill's voice, written without headings, as one continuous motivational piece. There is a power greater than the strength of armies, greater than the wealth of empires, greater even than the command of nature itself. That power is the power of restraint. Men have long believed that greatness lies in possession, in conquering, in seizing what the world calls valuable. They measure success by what they can take, by what they can hold, by what they can bend to their will. But history, and life itself, reveals a different law. The man who can control himself, the man who can master his desires, the man who can look upon temptation and still choose honor, he is the man who holds true power. Restraint is not weakness, it is the very essence of strength. The cowboy stood in a moment of trial. Before him lay a vision that could have stirred the desires of any man. A torn dress, a vulnerable figure, a chance to take what instinct might have demanded. His hands shook, not because he lacked strength, but because life had placed him at the very gate of destiny. In that trembling, he was not being asked, "Are you strong enough to take?" but rather, "Are you strong enough not to?" And here lies the eternal question that confronts every man and woman: can you master yourself when the opportunity to possess lies within your reach? The brute confuses strength with dominance. He believes that to take is to prove himself, that to conquer is to be powerful. But observe his fate: every empire built on possession alone eventually crumbles, every tyrant who rules by force eventually falls, every man who takes without respect eventually loses what he thought he had gained. Why? Because possession without restraint breeds decay. It is only self-control that sustains power. Without restraint, the wealth you gather will enslave you, the pleasures you seize will destroy you, and the authority you demand will corrupt you. Consider the river. When it floods uncontrolled, it destroys everything in its path. But when it is restrained within its banks, when its flow is directed, it gives life, it nurtures fields, it builds civilizations. Desire is like that river. Left unchecked, it becomes destruction. Restrained, it becomes energy, focus, creation. The cowboy's shaking hands were the banks of the river. The question was not whether the river would flow. Desire will always flow, but whether he had the strength to direct it rather than be destroyed by it. Realize this truth: possession is temporary, but restraint is eternal. What you take today can be lost tomorrow, but the strength you gain from mastering yourself can never be taken away. A man who possesses wealth but lacks restraint will squander it. A man who wins affection but lacks respect will lose it. A man who seizes power but lacks self-control will destroy himself with it. But the man who has restraint is master not only of what he holds but of himself, and this mastery cannot be undone by circumstance. The world will tempt you to believe otherwise. It will parade before you images of those who take, who conquer, who boast of what they own. But if you look closely, you will see the shadow in their eyes. You will see that they are slaves to the very things they have seized. They possess, but they are not free. And freedom, not possession, is the true measure of power. Freedom comes not from taking, but from mastering the impulse to take when it is not right. Think of the athlete who trains for victory. He could indulge his appetite, he could surrender to ease, he could let go of discipline. Yet he restrains himself, and in that restraint he finds strength. The victory he earns is not in the medal placed around his neck but in the unseen thousands of moments when he said no to what was easy and yes to what was right. His restraint made him powerful. His possession of the medal is only a symbol of what he already possessed within himself. So it is in every sphere of life. The businessman who restrains the urge to cut corners, to cheat, to deceive, builds an empire that endures because it is founded on integrity. The leader who restrains his anger and listens with patience builds loyalty that no force can buy. The lover who restrains desire until it can be given in honor builds a relationship that cannot be shaken by storms. Restraint is the invisible hand that guides greatness, while possession alone is the glittering illusion that fades with time. When the cowboy trembled, he stood on holy ground. Not because of what was before him, but because of what was within him. The battlefield of restraint is the holiest of all battlefields, for it is where the soul meets destiny. And the trembling was not a sign of failure, it was a sign that he was alive to the magnitude of his choice. For when the opportunity to take presents itself, it is easy to believe that seizing it will prove your power. But the truth is the opposite. Only restraint proves power. Only the ability to walk away when desire demands you stay shows that you are a master of yourself. Every man is offered possession. Few are offered restraint. Life will put into your hands things you can seize if you wish. But destiny will ask, can you hold back? Can you wait? Can you choose respect over conquest? And in your answer, your future is written. The secret of greatness lies here. Possession feeds the ego, restraint feeds the soul. Possession satisfies the moment, restraint builds eternity. Possession is the hunger of the body, restraint is the triumph of the spirit. The brute animal takes because it can. The man of destiny restrains because he must. And in that restraint, he rises above the beast and becomes truly human. Do not misunderstand me. I do not speak against possession itself. Wealth, love, power, these are good in their proper place. But possession without restraint is poison. It intoxicates the mind, blinds the heart, and enslaves the soul. Possession with restraint, however, is blessing. It enriches, it uplifts, it liberates. The difference is not in what you hold, but in how you hold it. Do you hold it as a master, or are you held by it as a slave? History gives us examples too clear to ignore. Alexander the Great conquered nations but could not conquer himself, and in his lack of restraint, his empire dissolved as quickly as it was formed. Caesar held the world in his grasp, yet a moment of unrestrained ambition led to his fall. Contrast them with men who restrained themselves, men who could have taken more, but chose less in order to preserve honor. Lincoln restrained vengeance in the aftermath of war and thus preserved a nation. Gandhi restrained violence in the face of oppression and thus moved empires without raising a sword. These men proved that restraint, not possession, is the truest power. You too will face your battlefield of restraint. It may not look like the cowboys. It may come in the form of money offered at the cost of integrity, pleasure offered at the cost of dignity, opportunity offered at the cost of principle. You will tremble. You will feel the pull of desire. And in that trembling, you will hear the voice of destiny asking, what will you choose? Choose restraint, for in that choice you demonstrate to the universe that you are ready for true greatness. Remember this eternal law, what you restrain today multiplies as strength tomorrow. What you seize without restraint today dissolves as weakness tomorrow. Every act of restraint adds a stone to the foundation of your character, and every act of indulgence without restraint removes one. Build steadily, wisely, with patience, and the tower of your destiny will rise unshaken by storms. But seize wildly, greedily, without thought, and you will watch your tower collapse when the winds of life blow. The cowboy's story is the story of every man and woman. It is not about a torn dress, it is about the tearing open of the soul, the moment when choice defines character. Possession was within his reach, but restraint was within his power. And in choosing restraint, he chose greatness. So too must you. When life offers you the chance to take without honor, remember, it is not possession that makes you strong, but the self-control to wait, to honor, to respect, to rise above. Therefore, let restraint be your crown. Wear it with pride. Let the world boast of what it possesses, while you quietly build the invisible fortress of self-control. For the day will come when possessions pass away, when empires crumble, when pleasures fade. But the strength of restraint will remain, unbroken, eternal, the proof that you mastered the only thing worth mastering, yourself. Excellent. Let us now expand key point 4, honor lies in protection. A noble man protects what is fragile, upholds dignity, and values humanity above desire into a 2,000-word continuous motivational speech in the style of Napoleon Hill. No headings, no breaks, just flowing rhythm, persuasion, imagery, and repetition, as if Hill himself were speaking to stir hearts and awaken minds. There is a law written not on paper, not carved into stone, but written deep into the soul of every man who has ever drawn breath, the law that honor lies in protection. To be noble is not to seize, not to dominate, not to exploit, but to shield, to guard, to preserve. When life places something fragile in your hands, when destiny entrusts to you the dignity of another soul, the measure of your character is revealed not by how much you can take from it, but by how much you can protect it. The true greatness of a man is proven not in the conquest of what is weak, but in his reverence toward it. The cowboy understood this in a trembling instant. The dress tore, the veil of dignity hung by a thread, and in that moment he was face to face not with an opportunity to gratify desire, but with a sacred test of whether his spirit would rise above the impulse of the flesh. His hands shook because he knew the power he held. In that shaking he understood that to reach out wrongly would be to destroy, but to restrain himself would be to protect. And in that restraint lay the seed of his honor. So it is with you. Everyday life will hand you something fragile. It may not come wrapped in cloth. It may not appear before your eyes in human form. It may be the fragile trust of a friend, the fragile hope of a child, the fragile beginning of a dream, the fragile silence of another's pain. These things are placed in your hands not so that you may crush them, but so that you may protect them. The noble man knows this. He knows that strength was never given to him so he could devour the weak. It was given so that he could guard the weak, preserve them, uplift them, and by doing so prove himself worthy of strength. The world too often teaches the opposite. It glorifies the man who takes, who boasts, who tramples others underfoot to reach his goals. It parades power as if power were licensed to exploit. But this is not power, it is weakness disguised as strength. The man who cannot protect is not strong, he is broken inside, enslaved to his appetites. True power lies in the one who can look upon vulnerability, who can stand in the presence of weakness, and instead of exploiting it, makes himself its shield. Do you not see that every noble figure in history has been remembered not for how much they took, but for how much they protected? The warrior who defends his people is honored, the tyrant who plunders them is despised. The leader who sacrifices for the safety of his followers is revered, the one who sacrifices his followers for his own gain is cursed. The father who shelters his children in storms is loved, the one who abandons them is forgotten. Honor is always found in protection. Imagine a flame flickering in the wind. Anyone can blow it out. A child could snuff it with a breath. But it takes a noble hand to shield it, to cup it against the storm, to preserve its fragile glow until it becomes a roaring fire. That is what honor does, it shields the flame of dignity in others until they are strong enough to carry it themselves. The cowboy's trembling choice was the cupping of his hands around that flame. He could have blown it out with one selfish act. But instead, his honor demanded that he protect it. And in that act, he proved his manhood. There will come moments in your life when you too will stand before a flickering flame. It may be the fragile dream of a partner who trusts you, the fragile reputation of a colleague who confides in you, the fragile faith of a stranger who believes in kindness. You will have the power to extinguish it with mockery, betrayal, exploitation. Or you will have the power to shield it, to nurture it, to protect it. And the choice you make in those silent moments will echo through eternity. For the universe always remembers the man who protects. You may ask, why is protection greater than possession? Because possession is selfish, while protection is selfless. Possession says, this is mine. Protection says, this is sacred. Possession takes, protection gives. Possession drains, protection uplifts. And it is in giving, in uplifting, that man discovers the secret law of increase, that whatever you protect with honor multiplies in your life. Protect trust, and you will be trusted. Protect dignity, and you will be dignified. Protect love, and you will be loved. Protect dreams, and your own dreams will grow. Life always rewards the protector. Do not mistake gentleness for weakness. The man who protects is not soft, he is strong beyond measure. For it takes no strength to exploit what is fragile. Any brute can trample a flower. Any coward can wound the vulnerable. But to protect, to restrain oneself, to put aside selfish impulse and guard another's dignity, that requires strength of the highest order. The lion who spares the lamb is greater than the lion who devours it. The hand that shields is nobler than the hand that strikes. Think of the oak tree that spreads its branches wide. Birds build their nests in its limbs, weary travelers rest in its shade, children play at its roots. The oak does not crush them with its strength. It protects them with it. Its honor lies not in what it can destroy, but in what it preserves. So it must be with you. Be the oak, not the storm. Be the protector, not the exploiter. In this lies the path to true nobility. When the cowboy chose protection, he chose to stand on the side of honor. His strength did not diminish in that moment, it increased. For now he was no longer merely a man of muscle, a worker of the land, a rider of horses. He was a man of principle, a man who valued humanity above desire, a man who understood that the purpose of strength is to serve. And such a man, though he may ride alone in the desert, is never truly alone. For the universe itself rides with him, blessing his path, because he has aligned himself with its highest law, that honor lies in protection. You too can align yourself with this law. You too can choose to use your strength not as a weapon, but as a shield. And when you do, you will find that the world begins to respond differently to you. People will trust you. They will open their hearts to you. They will place in your care things more valuable than gold: their respect, their love, their loyalty. And this wealth, invisible yet eternal, cannot be stolen, cannot be lost, cannot be destroyed. It is the wealth of honor, and it comes only to those who protect. The road of protection is not easy. There will be times when your desires scream louder than your principles. There will be times when exploitation seems easier than preservation. There will be times when the world tempts you to believe that honor is old-fashioned, that only the strong who take will survive. But in those moments, remember the cowboy. Remember his trembling hands, his silent choice, his recognition that what stood before him was not an invitation to take, but a command to protect. Let that image remind you that the measure of your manhood, the measure of your humanity, will be decided not by what you seize, but by what you shield. And when your own dress tears, when life strips you of your coverings, when you find yourself fragile before the eyes of another, pray that the man who stands beside you is noble enough to protect. For honor is not only what you give, it is also what you will one day need. Every protector becomes protected in time, every shield bearer one day finds shelter beneath the shield of another. Life is a circle, and what you offer returns to you multiplied. So I say to you now, let your greatest pride not be in how much you possess, but in how much you protect. Let your legacy not be written in the trophies you seized, but in the lives you shielded. Let your strength be remembered not for the things it destroyed, but for the dignity it preserved. For this is the essence of nobility. This is the foundation of greatness. This is the law of honor, and it is unbreakable. Be the man who shields the flame. Be the man who guards the trust. Be the man who lifts the fallen. Be the man whose strength is not feared but relied upon. And when the story of your life is told, let it be said that you were not the man who took, but the man who protected. For in that, and in that alone, lies true honor. Very well. Let us now take key point 5, true strength is not found in desire, but in discipline, the ability to master one's impulses and direct them toward higher purpose, and expand it in the voice and rhythm of Napoleon Hill, pouring out around 2,000 words in a flowing speech, without headings, without interruption, just a steady, persuasive fire meant to lift the spirit and awaken the will. There is no greater test of manhood, no higher proof of greatness, than the test of discipline. Desire alone is cheap. Desire burns hot in every man, even the weakest. Desire stirs in the hearts of the coward and the conqueror alike. It moves in the drunkard as easily as it moves in the philosopher. Desire is common. Discipline is rare. For while desire is given to you by nature, discipline must be forged by you in the furnace of your own will. A man who is ruled by desire is no man at all, he is a slave. His eyes may be open, but his mind is chained. His body may be strong, but his spirit is weak. He sees what he wants, and he reaches, he grasps, he takes, without thought, without restraint, without purpose. He believes himself powerful because he satisfies the appetite of the moment, but in truth he is powerless, for he is owned by that appetite. But the man who disciplines himself, the man who feels desire rise within him like a roaring fire yet does not allow the fire to consume his house, that man is strong. His power is not in the flames of his passion, but in his command over them. He directs them. He harnesses them. He builds furnaces to forge iron, engines to move mountains, dreams to change the world. Discipline is the hand that grips the reins of the wild horse called desire. Without it, the horse runs into chaos. With it, the horse carries you toward greatness. So it was with the cowboy. His hands trembled, his heart raced, desire surged through him like a storm, yet in that trembling he discovered the truth, that strength was not in surrendering to impulse, but in mastering it. His body cried out, his imagination painted pictures of indulgence, but a stronger voice rose within him, a voice that whispered of honor, of restraint, of destiny. And in obeying that voice, he proved himself greater than desire, greater than temptation, greater than the man he might have been had he fallen. He proved himself disciplined. Discipline is the master key to achievement in every area of life. It is the power to delay gratification, to sacrifice present pleasure for future glory, to direct energy toward constructive ends. Without discipline, talent rots. Without discipline, dreams wither. Without discipline, even love becomes poisoned by selfish appetite. But with discipline, every gift of life can be multiplied, every vision realized, every bond strengthened. Ask yourself, what separates the man who builds an empire from the man who wastes his years in idle talk? Not desire, for both desire success. Not opportunity, for both are touched by chance. The difference is discipline. The builder rises early when he would rather sleep. He saves when he would rather spend. He studies when he would rather indulge. He restrains his impulses and directs his energy. He turns desire into disciplined action, and action into achievement. The idler does not. So it is with wealth, with knowledge, with love, and with honor. The undisciplined man squanders his earnings on trifles, the disciplined man invests them in enterprises that endure. The undisciplined man fills his mind with chatter, the disciplined man trains it with study. The undisciplined man consumes love with lust, the disciplined man builds love with trust. In every case, discipline is the dividing line between greatness and mediocrity, between honor and disgrace. It is tempting to believe that strength lies in force, in giving in to passion, in proving yourself by what you can seize. But I tell you, true strength lies not in the force you exert outward, but in the force you exert inward. The general who conquers nations but cannot conquer his own tongue is a weak man. The man who seduces countless women but cannot honor one is a weak man. The worker who can lift heavy loads but cannot lift himself out of bed on time is a weak man. Discipline is the measure of true strength. Discipline is not a cage, it is a key. It does not imprison you, it frees you. For the man of discipline is free from the tyranny of impulse, free from the chains of addiction, free from the regret that comes from foolish choices. He is master of himself, and therefore master of his destiny. The undisciplined man boasts that he is free to do whatever he pleases, but in truth he is shackled to whatever pleases him. The disciplined man does not do whatever he pleases, he does what is right, what is necessary, what is worthy. And in doing so, he becomes free indeed. Think of the river. The water rushes wildly, but without banks it floods, it destroys, it becomes chaos. Yet when disciplined by its banks, that same water turns mills, feeds fields, carries ships, and sustains life. Desire without discipline is a flood. Desire with discipline is a river of power. One destroys, the other builds. Which will you choose to be? Think of the fire. Left untended, it burns down houses, consumes forests, leaves only ashes. But when disciplined in the furnace, it forges steel, drives engines, illuminates the night. Desire without discipline is fire that devours. Desire with discipline is fire that creates. One leaves you in ruin, the other lifts you to greatness. Life will test your discipline in many forms. It will tempt you with shortcuts, with pleasures, with indulgences that whisper, "Take me now, enjoy me now, satisfy me now." And if you bow to them, you may feel a fleeting thrill, but you will lose something far greater: your future, your dignity, your destiny. Yet if you discipline yourself, if you say, "Not now, not this way, not at the cost of my honor," then you will rise above the moment, and life itself will bow to you in respect. The cowboy knew this truth. His shaking hands were not a sign of weakness, they were a sign of the inner battle being fought. And when he chose restraint, when he chose discipline, he won a greater victory than any battle on the open range. For the greatest victory a man can win is the victory over himself. He proved that true strength is not in desire, but in discipline. This law applies equally to you. Do you wish to build wealth? Discipline your spending, discipline your saving, discipline your investments. Do you wish to master knowledge? Discipline your mind, discipline your studies, discipline your habits of thought. Do you wish to cultivate love? Discipline your words, discipline your actions, discipline your selfish impulses, and let your affection be guided by respect. Do you wish to be honored? Discipline your desires, discipline your temper, discipline your ambition until it becomes service rather than selfishness. Every great man you have ever admired was a man of discipline. The inventor who toiled night after night while others slept, the statesman who held his tongue when angered so that peace might prevail, the artist who resisted distraction to perfect his craft, the leader who endured hardship without surrender, each of them was a man who mastered his impulses and directed them toward higher purpose. Without discipline, their desires would have burned out in smoke. With discipline, their desires became light to the world. You may feel in yourself the tug of undisciplined desire. Do not despair. The battle is not won in a single day. Discipline is built as a muscle is built through practice, through repetition, through the steady application of will. Each time you resist impulse, each time you choose principle over passion, each time you hold your tongue when you could lash out, each time you rise early when you could sleep late, you grow stronger. Your discipline grows. And as it grows, so does your true strength. Understand this: desire is the fuel, but discipline is the steering wheel. Fuel without steering leads to wreckage. Steering without fuel leads to stagnation. But together, they carry you to your destination. Do not despise desire, for it is the spark of life. But do not worship it, for without discipline it will destroy you. Harness it, direct it, master it, and it will serve you. The undisciplined man is tossed like a leaf in the wind, blown wherever his impulses carry him. The disciplined man is like the captain of a ship, steering through storms, charting his course, holding steady until he reaches his harbor. Which man do you choose to be? The leaf, helpless and forgotten, or the captain, strong and remembered? I tell you, greatness is not a matter of chance, but of choice. And the choice that matters most is the choice of discipline over desire. For the man who masters himself can master his world, while the man who cannot master himself is mastered by the world. Discipline is the crown of strength, the proof of honor, the foundation of success. So let your strength be measured not by the fire of your desires, but by the firmness of your discipline. Let your legacy be not the pleasures you consumed, but the purposes you fulfilled. Let your manhood be proven not in indulgence, but in restraint. And when the story of your life is told, let it be said that you were not ruled by your impulses, but by your principles. For that, and that alone, is true strength. Now let us expand key point 6. Love becomes meaningful only when built upon respect, restraint, and responsibility. It transforms from a fleeting passion into a lasting bond. In the voice of Napoleon Hill, flowing, persuasive, rhythmic, and expansive. This will be delivered as a 2,000-word motivational address without headings, without breaks, just a steady fire meant to awaken the soul. Love is the most powerful force known to man, but it is also the most misunderstood. Too often men mistake passion for love, impulse for devotion, and fleeting desire for eternal bond. They call the fever of the body love, but fever cools. They call the intoxication of the eyes love, but intoxication fades. They call the hunger of the flesh love, but hunger is satisfied and forgotten. These things are but shadows, passing thrills, illusions that mimic the form of love but vanish when tested by time. True love is something higher, something greater, something lasting. It is not built upon desire alone but upon respect, upon restraint, upon responsibility. Only when love is tempered by these three pillars does it transform from a fragile flame into an eternal fire. The cowboy learned this truth when his eyes beheld her in that vulnerable moment. His body surged with desire, his hands trembled with need, but within his heart a higher voice spoke. It told him that if he reached out from passion alone, he would destroy the very thing he longed to cherish. That if he mistook impulse for devotion, he would betray not only her dignity but his own soul. That if he took without respect, without restraint, without responsibility, he would not be a man of love, but a thief of honor. And in that trembling instant, he chose the harder path, the path of reverence. He chose to let his love be tested by restraint. He chose to let his affection be guided by responsibility. He chose to let his desire be disciplined by respect. And in that choice, he transformed fleeting passion into something worthy of the name love. So it must be for you. If you wish for love that endures, you must first master yourself. For love is not possession, it is partnership. Love is not indulgence, it is investment. Love is not merely the pleasure of today, it is the building of tomorrow. Desire may ignite the spark, but respect fans it into flame, restraint protects it from burning out, and responsibility sustains it through every storm. Without these, what you call love will perish. With them, what you call love will grow until it becomes unshakable. Respect is the foundation. Without respect, there can be no trust. Without trust, there can be no safety. And without safety, there can be no lasting bond. To respect another is to honor their dignity, to see in them not merely an object of desire, but a soul of infinite worth. It is to treat them not as a means to your satisfaction, but as an end in themselves. It is to recognize that their body, their heart, their mind, their dreams are sacred, and to handle them with reverence. When you build love upon respect, you build it upon rock. But when you build it upon desire alone, you build it upon sand, and the first storm will wash it away. Restraint is the proof. Many men proclaim love, but when tested by temptation, they fail. They claim devotion, but their actions reveal indulgence. True love proves itself in restraint. It is the power to feel desire and yet not allow desire to destroy dignity. It is the strength to say no to the impulse of the moment for the sake of the future of the bond. Restraint does not weaken love, it strengthens it. It teaches patience. It forges trust. It allows affection to deepen into respect. The man who cannot restrain himself cannot love truly, for his so-called love is only the mask of appetite. But the man who holds himself in discipline, who honors boundaries, who protects the fragile dignity of the one he loves, that man transforms passion into devotion, and devotion into destiny. Responsibility is the crown. Respect lays the foundation, restraint proves the strength, but responsibility completes the structure. For what is love if not the willing acceptance of duty? To love someone is to take upon yourself the duty of their well-being, the duty of their honor, the duty of their trust. It is to stand before them and say, your safety is my concern, your dignity my burden, your happiness my mission. Responsibility turns love from a feeling into a covenant, from an emotion into a promise. Without responsibility, love remains childish, fleeting, self-centered. With responsibility, love becomes manly, lasting, selfless. It binds two souls together not by chains of desire, but by vows of devotion. Consider the farmer and his field. Desire may cause him to sow the seed, but respect for the land keeps him from poisoning it, restraint keeps him from overworking it, and responsibility makes him water and nurture it. Only then will the harvest come. So it is with love. Desire may draw you together, but only respect, restraint, and responsibility will cause your bond to grow and bear fruit. Consider the craftsman and his work. Desire may inspire him to begin the carving, but respect for the wood keeps his hands steady, restraint keeps him from rushing, and responsibility makes him polish the piece until it is beautiful. So it is with love. Without these, the work is spoiled. With these, the work endures. Every lasting marriage, every lifelong friendship, every unbreakable bond you admire was built on these pillars. Those who relied only on passion, on desire, on impulse, where are they now? Their bonds have crumbled, their promises are broken, their love is spoken of only in past tense. But those who built on respect, restraint, and responsibility, where are they? Their faces are wrinkled with years, but their hands still clasp. Their eyes are dim, but they still shine with devotion. Their hearts beat slower, but they still beat together. They have transformed passion into permanence, and in doing so, they have discovered the secret of love. Do not be deceived by the world's false teachings. The world will tell you love is a feeling, and when the feeling fades, love is gone. But I tell you, love is a choice, and when the feeling fades, the choice remains, and in making the choice again and again, the feeling returns deeper, purer, stronger than before. The world will tell you love is freedom without restraint, but I tell you, love is freedom through responsibility. The world will tell you love is indulgence, but I tell you, love is sacrifice. And those who follow the world's lies find themselves empty, while those who follow the truth find themselves fulfilled. Remember this, desire begins love, but only discipline preserves it. Respect honors it, restraint protects it, responsibility sustains it. Without these, love is nothing more than a passing storm, loud, thrilling, but soon gone. With these, love becomes like the mountain, silent, steadfast, immovable, enduring through all seasons. Which kind of love do you seek? Which kind of love will you build? The cowboy understood this in that sacred instant. His trembling hands became steady because he chose respect over indulgence. His passion became devotion because he chose restraint over impulse. His affection became love because he chose responsibility over selfishness. He did not seize the moment to satisfy himself, he sanctified the moment by honoring her. And in that act, he turned what could have been shame into glory, what could have been ruin into redemption. You too will face such moments. You too will stand before the test, when passion burns, when desire tempts, when impulse cries out. In those moments, remember, true love does not demand, it protects. True love does not consume, it preserves. True love does not destroy, it builds. Respect her, restrain yourself, take responsibility, and you will discover love in its truest form. And when you find it, cherish it. For love, built on respect, restraint, and responsibility, becomes the greatest power you will ever hold. It will sustain you when wealth is gone, when strength has faded, when fame has vanished. It will stand by you in sickness, in loss, in trial. It will outlast every storm and grow stronger through each one. It will transform your life from a lonely struggle into a shared journey, from a fleeting existence into a lasting legacy. So I say to you, let love be more than passion. Let it be principle. Let it be respect that honors, restraint that protects, responsibility that upholds. Build it carefully, guard it fiercely, and nurture it faithfully. And when the story of your life is told, let it be said not that you loved many, but that you loved truly. For one true love, built on these pillars, is worth more than 1,000 passions. And in that love, you will find not only happiness but greatness, not only pleasure but purpose, not only joy but immortality.